I am really hoping this is set up right and it looks okay. But hello! Happy 2025. Welcome to the new year. I have decided that no matter how much 2024 sucked, I'm going to make this year my year, whether it's the last thing I do. And so one thing that I have decided to do this year is to get out of my writer's block. And of course, that includes having to write. Um, so I have officially gotten out of my writer's block, knock on wood. I believe I have. But I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about my writing process, specifically first drafts. A lot of people have a hard time getting through their first drafts. Somehow, some way, I have come up with a formula for myself that helps me get through a first draft relatively easily. I will say first drafts aren't like my favorite thing in the world. I genuinely prefer like revising and editing of like draft 3s and 4s, but I can get through a first draft if I need to. So I thought I would take y'all along the journey that I do in writing first draft. And I hope you enjoy. So let's just get into it because I am rambling now. Yeah. Obviously, step one, have a writing idea. And it sounds easy, but a lot of the times it's not. I haven't had a new writing idea in like a year. So, yeah, it's harder than it sounds. But what I'm working on right now is an old writing idea that I had actually started drafting a first draft. And then when I came back last month, I was like, this is terrible. So we have started over completely. Now, you're probably wondering, Amber, what are your qualifications to be even speaking on this? And I would say I have none. So, I mean, maybe not none. I've got like one, the fact that I have finished first drafts. I've finished, since I started taking writing seriously in 2020, I have written like 3 or 4 first drafts. Actually, 3. 3 like full-length novel first drafts and 1 like short story first draft. Only 2 of those, aka the short story and 1 of the novels, has gotten to a second draft and further. But I'm not talking about second and third drafts today. We're just talking about first drafts. So yeah, those are my qualifications. So once you have your writing idea, what I like to do, because I am a planner, so I need a little bit of planning, a little bit of structure, but not a lot. Like I like having a very general like outline, if you will. So I'll just do like the major plot points. So I'll do like 5 major plot points, like the inciting incident and like the first culmination, etc. Right? And I'll kind of like I won't go into very many details. It's just kind of like a little, this is what's going to happen quickly, like an overview, like a general overview. And then I'll kind of like play around with like the characters and stuff. Kind of like, okay, this is the personality I want for them. Oh, here's a face claim. But I don't spend a whole bunch of time. Like generally, I'll spend like maybe 2 days worth before I jump right into the first draft. I am chaotic when it comes to my drafting. Now I will say, this video is not for people who are outliners. I'm so sorry. I cannot help you. I am not an outliner at all. Like, if I were to outline, I'd get bored halfway through writing the outline, and then I would no longer want to write like the novel. So not really a person if you are an outliner. But in case you're curious, I guess you can watch. I'm not gonna gatekeep. So I will normally spend very little time like preparing, and then I'll just jump right into it. Mainly because I am impatient. I'm an impatient person. So once I've got the little bit of preparation I am planning on doing, I'll literally just start writing. That's it. That's the tutorial. No, I'm kidding. So once I start writing, basically, first of all, normally my first drafts are very, very short. I am an underwriter. So I will, especially when it comes to first drafts. For first drafts, because the way I like to think about it, what helps me get through that first draft, because a lot of people have issues with going back and editing, etc. And like, you would think since I love editing, I would like have that issue, but I don't, because again, I'm impatient. I want this first draft done so I can get to the like editing and revising and all that type of stuff. So my first drafts are like really kind of cut and dry. Like, I don't worry about how my sentences sound, don't worry about grammar, I don't worry even if the plot makes sense. Who cares? Like, what plot? Like, genuinely, I don't care about any of that. I just write and have fun. It's almost like a zero draft, but it's kind of not in a way. A lot of the stuff that I write in the first draft won't make it into any other drafts. Really, that first draft is really for me, like genuinely for me. I discover a lot about my characters, about my plot. I come up with so many new ideas that I didn't have when I was planning. That I normally would not find unless I started writing. And again, this is literally just works for me. Please don't go in the comments and be like, well, that doesn't work for me. Okay, and did I ask? No, this is my channel, so politely. I don't care. What works for me is this. I don't care how anything sounds, because for my second drafts, I rewrite everything. So I don't even use anything from the first drafts. Like, I completely start from scratch, and that's when I mainly will worry about how my writing sounds, and then also to plots. So how I like to think of my drafts, I think of them in very like specific ways. So my first drafts is discovery. It's just to get words on the page, to kind of discover my world. I say world, but I guess even if you're writing like romance or lit fic, because I mainly write fantasy, although I do have a romance work in progress. It's kind of like Gilmore Girls meets Astra Parker doesn't fail, FYI. But that's not what I'm working on right now. Right now I'm working on fantasy, and I mainly write fantasy. But even if you're writing romance, lit fic, whatever, you do have to create like a world. Even if it's set in the real world, you still have to like figure out like your other characters, how they're gonna interact in the world. Some people even have like the fictional towns and stuff, looking at you, William Faulkner. So like, you gotta come up with that type of stuff as well. I really use this first draft as like a discovery, so I don't go back and edit stuff. I don't care if things make sense. If it makes sense to me, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So once I have that idea, once I've planned, once I've started writing, there will be moments where I will kind of get stuck and I'm like, I don't really have much of a vision for this part. And it normally happens after the first few chapters, because the first few chapters for me, I always have like a vivid idea of what I want it to look like. Once I get past that, normally I'll have like a little boy where I'm like, how do I connect point A to point B? And that's where this little thing that I really love, it's called insert here. So when it comes to moments like that, I literally will just put insert XYZ thing here. Because sometimes I'll have like a really, really general idea of like, okay, this has to happen. Like, I know a fight scene goes here, but I don't exactly know what they're fighting over yet. So I'll just put like insert fight scene here, and then I'll put whatever like little details that I do know of what I want in that scene, and then I'll leave like a comment, or I'll just put it in the draft. And yes, I count that towards my word goal because they're words that I wrote. So yeah. Honestly, that's mainly how I tackle my first drafts. Now I will say too, another little tip, a little tidbit that I'd like to share is the fact that I also try my very best to be reading in that genre that I'm writing in at the time of writing. Not just in general, not just read in your, I mean, people say this all the time, like read in your genre, and you should, but like I specifically think it's important to read in your genre as you are drafting, because you will get to see how other authors tackle certain things in ways that you may not have thought of, and it'll give you ideas. No, I'm not saying plagiarize, please don't, but I mean like it'll give you ideas of like, oh, this author did this and handled this problem in this way. I could do something similar in the context of my story, because that will fit in my story. I don't know if that makes sense. That's something that's helped me a lot. I know my writing and my ideas always end up better when I'm reading in the genre that I'm writing in. For example, oh, I can't show you. Right now my phone is literally on top of books, and the book I wanted to show is in the book. But right now I am reading The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri. It is the second book in the Burning Kingdoms trilogy. It comes after The Jasmine Throne. I'm finally reading the series. I read the first book back in 2022. And I decided to wait to read the second and third book until the past couple months, because I wanted to do a reread of the first book. But then once the second book came out, I'm like, I might as well just wait until the third book comes out so I can just reread it all at one time. And I also was in a fantasy reading slump for a hot second. But now that I'm out, I have reread The Jasmine Throne. I just finished reading it last week. And I am now on The Oleander Sword, and let me tell you, Tasha Suri's pen, genius. Mind, fantastic. If I could be half the writer she is, I'll be happy, truly. But because I'm reading that right now, and it has a lot of similar elements to what I'm writing right now, of like political intrigue, rebellion, like a lot of court politics. So like it really is similar to kind of like what I specifically am writing. So it's been really great to see just how she tackles certain things and certain themes and things like that. And it really has helped my writing. Tasha Suri, if you're watching this, which I know you aren't, but if you ever do, if you ever see it, just know I am your #1 fan. If you had no other fans, I'd be dead. If there is 10 fans, I'm one of them. If there's one fan, I am that one. If there are none, I'm dead. I'm dead. This is also a PSA. Go read The Jasmine Throne. Go read the series, please. I'm begging you. It's lovely. It's beautiful. It's amazing. One of my favorite fantasies, period. Anyways, so my book is also like an adult fantasy. It's not YA. The last novel that I wrote start to finish, and I actually started querying and then I pulled it because I was like, ooh, this isn't actually that good. It was a YA fantasy, and I used to mainly read YA fantasy, but now I'm kind of getting into like the adult fantasy realm of things. So I'm reading adult fantasy to help me with that. I'm kind of seeing how things are tackled in the adult fantasy versus YA towards a younger audience. So the way that characters talk are going to be very different than characters you see in an adult fantasy novel, because a lot of the times they're older. So like my characters in my story right now are like from like the 23 to 27 range. So they're going to talk very different than my characters that were 15, 16. So it's good to see in like a written form how other authors like handle it. So that's another tip I would say, especially when you're writing that first draft. But also too, even in drafts after draft 1, you should be reading in the genre you're writing in. Another thing too that helps me is music. I know a lot of people don't listen to music while they write. I have to. So if you're one of the people that writes with music, definitely listen to music that is similar to the vibes you are going for. Don't just listen to anything, because I'm telling you, the vibes of the music that you listen to while you write totally affect how you're writing. Like if I'm writing like a rom-com, I'm probably not gonna listen to like Adele, you know? Like I'm not gonna listen to heartbreak songs. I'm gonna listen to something cutesy, something fun. I'm not gonna listen to like something sad. I'm gonna listen to something happy. For right now, I'm listening to Anastasia on repeat because my fantasy is not exactly a historical fantasy, but it's inspired by like the Rococo period specifically, because I loved learning about that period of time in my art history class from college. I miss my classes. And I really love that period of time. And so I'm incorporating certain things from that period of time. But like, Anastasia is a completely different period of time I know, but like it has similar vibes if you get what if you're picking up what I'm putting down. So definitely vibes of the music, highly important. But truly, I think the gist of what I'm saying though in regards to first drafts is mainly you really have to get out of your head. And I know that's so much easier said than done. But even if that, like if you're struggling with like going back and editing stuff on your first drafts, try handwriting. I know I do that when I hit like a block in my writing. Sometimes I'll literally just switch formats. But the nice thing about handwriting is the fact that you can go back and edit, but it's a lot harder. Because if you're writing, especially with something like pen, don't handwrite with pencil. Handwrite with pen, because then you can't go back and erase stuff. You have to like cross stuff out, and that gets annoying and messy at some point, and it's hard to write like in the margins and everything like what you'd rather say. So it's definitely great if you are someone who likes to go back and edit a lot. It's a lot easier to not do that if you're handwriting with a pen. But if you do the handwriting, please make sure you do some like hand exercises and stuff, because don't mess up your hands. Nothing is worth messing up your hands. I do them a lot because I also crochet, and I'm right-handed, so I do them a lot, especially on my right hand. And I did have to stop handwriting because my hands started hurting, so definitely proceed with caution. This is really rambly, and this is really just me talking. There's not much else I have to say. So that is mainly how I approach my first drafts. My final little 2 cents that I'd like to share is just kind of going along the veins of getting out of your head. Truly, this first draft is really just getting words on the page. If you go at it with the idea that none of this is going into that final draft, if you go into it knowing that that second draft you will be rewriting from scratch, but with a better foundation of what you know you're gonna write, it's so much easier to get through that first draft and getting out of your head, because nobody's gonna see it. Literally nobody, unless somebody hacks into your computer. Like, no one's gonna see it. So get out of your head, get that first draft done. Like, we want to read your stuff. I know all of y'all are super talented, and we would like to read it. We as in me, but I digress. I'm sure there's other people that want to read what you have to say too. But you gotta get that first draft done. You can't be a published author if you don't write anything. So get that first draft done. Yeah, that's my 2 cents. I am hoping to start posting YouTube videos at least 2 to 3 times a month, maybe. I will be posting a lot of my Instagram reels here on Shorts as well, but I'm gonna hope to post more. And definitely let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions on future videos I should make. I'm kind of hoping to maybe make a video on like how to analyze texts, because my qualification for that is that I got a BA in literature. So that could be a fun thing, because we all know media literacy is dead. Nobody knows how to analyze anything, and people's reading comprehension is actually abysmal. So who better, as I was telling my coworker the other day, who better than me, someone who, one, has a degree and knows every little thing. Please tell me y'all know what I'm referring to. 2, I am Gen Z. So who better to teach Gen Z and Gen Alpha, or whatever they're calling themselves, how to read than someone in the same age range? Well, generation, not age range, generation. So if there's a specific like text you'd like to see me analyze, let me know, please. I'd love to hear. But that is it for today. I hope you will come back. Bye.